My name is Hannibal Barca. Perhaps you've heard it, whispered through the echoes of battles lost to time, or from the mouths of my greatest enemies. I am the Carthaginian general who crossed the Alps with an army and elephants, defying the mightiest empire of my age, Rome. But my story does not begin there. It begins long before, under the heat of the African sun, when I was still a child. My father, Hamilcar Barca, was a great general. He instilled in me a deep hatred for Rome, but more importantly, he taught me the knowledge of how to lead. As a boy, I made a solemn oath before him to never be a friend of Rome. That vow would define my entire existence, much more than I could have imagined. I did not only inherit my father's army, I inherited his war. But this was not just a war against an enemy. It was a struggle for survival. Carthage was not just my homeland, it was the identity of my people, the soul of all we were. To see it crushed under the boot of Rome was unthinkable. And so, with the fervent promise to protect my home and my people, my mission was laid before me like an unbreakable map. My first real encounter with Rome was not on the battlefield. I saw their soldiers from a distance, an observation that left a deep impression. They moved with precision, like a machine, cold, efficient, unstoppable. It was unsettling. They were not just soldiers, they were the embodiment of order, forged with a purpose to conquer. In that moment, I realized that our fight was not just against men, it was against an idea. Rome represented a force that would erase anything standing in its path. But I had learned from my father, even the mightiest machines have weaknesses. And I would spend my life finding Rome's vulnerabilities. My childhood was filled with lessons, not just of war, but of leadership. My father took me to the battlefields, where I witnessed firsthand the brutality of war and the cost of defeat. But more than that, I learned how to lead. I saw how an army could become more than just men fighting for survival. It could become a living force with a spirit of its own. By the time I became a general, I was ready. Ready not just to fight, but to guide men through the most harrowing of situations. My father's voice echoed in my mind every time I faced a decision. Rome must be stopped. Our people must be protected. That was my mission. I knew that every battle was an opportunity not just to win, but to show my people that resistance was possible. When I led my army across the Alps, the world thought it impossible. We faced snowstorms, treacherous terrain, and starvation. Many of my men perished along the way. The elephants, once symbols of our strength, collapsed under the weight of the journey. Every step forward was a trial of our determination, a battle in itself. But I had a vision. I knew that the only way to surprise Rome was through audacity. No one had attempted to bring an army through those mountains, and when we emerged from the Alps, wounded but unbroken, we were a force that Rome had never faced before. In each glance, we carried the hope of a people that refused to surrender. When we finally met the Roman legions, they were everything I expected: disciplined, strong, seemingly invincible. but they had never fought someone like me. I brought chaos to their order. My tactics confused and disoriented them. They were used to fighting in straight lines, to predictable strategies. I gave them none of that. One by one, their armies fell before my strategies. We became ghosts in their land, always one step ahead, attacking where they least expected. Yet despite my victories, Rome never crumbled. They regrouped, adapted, and little by little learned from their mistakes. The Battle of Cannae was my greatest triumph. Despite being outnumbered, I encircled and crushed a Roman army twice my size. It was the perfect execution of strategy and discipline. I had turned Rome's strength into its greatest weakness. More than 50,000 Roman soldiers lay dead on that field. After Cannae, Rome trembled. I could feel it. I had struck a blow from which they would never fully recover. But even in their darkest hour, they refused to surrender. And that, I realized, was Rome's greatest strength, their resilience. In every defeat, I found their determination, and that made me understand that the battle was not only fought on the field, but in the hearts of men. After Cannae, we were close enough to Rome to taste victory. But I hesitated. Some say it was doubt, others say it was caution. Perhaps I was waiting for the right moment to strike. Perhaps I doubted whether our forces were ready for a monumental siege. History will judge me for not marching on Rome. But in my heart, I knew that had I attacked then and failed, everything would have been lost. So I waited. And in that time, Rome regrouped. Slowly, inexorably, they pushed us back. The war dragged on. The legions of Rome pressed in from all sides. Yet, even as they closed in, I fought to keep our spirit alive. For years, we fought not just for survival, but for our way of life. Carthage was more than just a city. It was a symbol of independence, a challenge against the Roman machine. I was no longer fighting just for the promise of my father. I was fighting for the survival of my people. We fought with everything we had, but Rome's resources seemed limitless. Little by little, inexorably, they pushed us back. Eventually, I was forced to abandon Italy and return to Carthage. But even there, betrayal awaited me. My own people turned against me. I was exiled, pursued by Rome even in distant lands. Yet I never renounced the fight, even in my final years. Every battle, every defeat, was a reminder of the oath I had taken as a child. I could never be at peace while Rome stood. But I have no regrets about my life. For all the pain, the loss, and the betrayals, I remained true to myself and my people. Even in exile, I knew I had left an indelible mark on history. So what did I achieve? Was it in the battles I won? The armies I led? No. My true victory was in keeping the essence of Carthage alive. We fought not just to destroy Rome, but to protect something greater, our way of life, our identity. Rome was not just an enemy, It was a force that sought to erase us, to make us forget who we were. I did not fight to conquer, I fought to preserve, to defend the soul of my people. And in that, I succeeded. Though Carthage would eventually fall, its memory, its resistance, would live on. My name would be remembered, not just as a general, but as a symbol. A symbol that no empire, no matter how great, can truly erase the spirit of those who stand against it with purpose and passion. I fought not for conquest, but for survival. And though Rome may have won the war, it could never fully erase what Carthage represented. I did not die a conqueror, I live on as a reminder. A reminder that no force can truly erase a people fighting for their existence. I stand here, not in victory, but in defiance. I did not destroy Rome, but I left a scar upon its soul. The true legacy of my life is not in the monuments or the tales of glory. It is in the lesson that even the mightiest empires must fear those who stand against them with purpose and passion. I fought not for conquest, but for survival. For the spirit of a people who refuse to be subdued. Each battle, every sacrifice, was a testament to our resilience, a declaration that we would not go quietly into the night. The very essence of Carthage, its culture, its traditions, its indomitable spirit, will echo through history, a reminder of our struggle and defiance. Though Rome may have won the war, it could never erase what Carthage stood for. I did not die a conqueror, I live on as a beacon of resistance. As a reminder that no force, no matter how powerful, can truly erase a people who fight for their existence. For in the hearts of those who remember, in the stories passed down through generations, we shall endure. Let the annals of history record that we, the Carthaginians, were not defeated, for in our defiance, we found our immortality.